All right, it is Tuesday, May the 6th. The 6th of May? Yeah, May the 6th. And I am here with Chanel Treadwell from Clay Counseling Solutions. My name is Dr. April Clay, and we work together on Clay Counseling to provide resources and support to the community. Today, we are going to have a conversation and thought it'd be nice to upload for your disposal on the topic of social isolation versus social distancing. So, hi, Chanel.
Hi.
I am excited to just chat with you about this topic, and I thought it might be good for us to just kind of free flow it. We don't have to have a formal, it doesn't have to have a follow a formal format, but I do want to talk about the pros and cons of social isolation. Psychology Today has written an article recently. I believe the article is dated March 23rd on the topic, and I also read recently a couple articles that came out in the newspaper regarding the rate of suicide and suicide attempts, and how it's increased over the course of this pandemic and during the time that we've been dealing with the social distancing that we're having to practice in the quarantining, self-quarantining, and social isolation to prevent others from being exposed to coronavirus. And as a result, we know that many people are we're already dealing with depression and thoughts of suicide, and now have began to isolate even more and have made efforts towards attempting to take their lives, and some have even completed it. So we thought it would be good to have a conversation on this topic. So first, I want to start by sharing with you, I am not a medical doctor. I am not a psychiatrist. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. Chanel is a marriage and family therapist as well, and we're covering this topic for the sole purpose of information sharing. If you or someone you love is dealing with thoughts of suicide, we do urge you to reach out to your suicide hotline, or you can call your, the doctor. And if it's really urgent and you feel like they might be in danger, call 911. We don't want to run the risk of losing lives. So just putting that out there in advance. But for today's topic, let's go. So we know that there's a lot that has been said recently, but I would like to get your thoughts, Chanel, about social distancing. You know, this is a new time that we're in, and we're expected to practice the social distancing. You as a person, how have you seen social distancing impact or change the way you operate?
So for me, it's actually, it's a lot because I have a lot of friends and family that are in different states, and I'm used to either driving or traveling to see them frequently. I had a bunch of plans for this spring and summer to see some people I haven't met with in a long time, and all of that has been pretty much canceled until further notice. So at this point, for me, what's been important is still reaching out and talking to those people or any of my friends and family on a daily basis. Um, so, yeah, the distance is tough, but I think it would be a lot more difficult if we didn't have all of the technology that we have right now to be able to connect with people virtually. I can't imagine what this would be like without texting and FaceTime and Snapchat and just ways to connect with people that are not living with you.
I hear you. I actually agree, and I think even our elderly population is learning technology now that they didn't use before, because it does require us to find new ways to connect and engage. So for those folks who are actually taking advantage of the fact that we do have a thing called FaceTime and Snapchat and Instagram and all these ways that we can communicate with one another, I think it's been a great expansion of our own use of resources. I also believe that the social distancing has changed the way I engage recreation, because we don't get to be around people. That means that we can't go do some of the fun things we like doing, like going to the movies. I love going to the movies. Even if it's not good, I just like getting out of the house. Going to a restaurant, we don't get to do that right now. I also have changed my entertainment with my family, because normally we do take shortcuts and just go sit with the person rather than take time to make phone calls. So now I have reminders on my phone to call loved ones, that type of thing. So I hear you. I agree.
Yeah.
So how have you seen it affect? Now, I correct myself, not marriage and family therapist, your associate professional clinical counselor. So how have you seen it impact your work as you've supported the community through Clay Counseling? How have you seen social distancing impact the folks that you've been supporting?
So I would say it kind of goes two ways. So for some, they're wanting the services, and it's really important, especially at this time, to be able to have someone to talk to and connect with, because we're we're really living a whole new way of life. Um, Especially for students and parents, we're not at home together 24/7. There's at least 6 hours in the day where you're a student and you're at school and you're away from home, and our parents are at work and things like that. And now it's and that's like a break time almost. You get to be your own independent person. And now I'm seeing challenges where students and parents are now at home together all the time, and relearning how do we work through some of the challenges in relationship that maybe were there before but are really exacerbated now that it's like all day long. So it's kind of gone that way. And then the other side of it is, maybe for those that are not quite as comfortable for services this way, like over Zoom or, a phone call, really maybe just not feeling comfortable with it yet and not really ready to engage. And so those are the two sides that I've noticed, where it's either like, I really need this, and everything has gotten crazy since being at home. And the other side of it is, yeah, well, I'm not really comfortable not seeing you in person, or seeing you at the school site.
Any recommendations you would make for folks who are still trying to adjust but know they need the support?
Yeah, I would say, we don't have to jump in on Zoom right away. If you wanted to hop on and then keep your camera off and we just want to text or something, we can use the Zoom chat. We can just do a phone call, just, little baby steps. Like, I'm willing to text with you. We can just do a chat really quick during your session time, talk on the phone, and then kind of work our way up to doing a full video chat later.
That's good. That's important. I think it's important that the community knows that we're flexible. As clinicians, we're still people. We want to help meet the human needs that folks have. And so I too have made those adjustments. I know I had one client in particular who wasn't comfortable. She didn't want to see herself. She didn't like looking at herself in the camera. And so we do, she doesn't use the camera feature. She actually just does Zoom Health. We use Zoom Health, and she'll call into the phone number rather than joining by video. And her phone doesn't have the features to support the video as well either. It does a little lag. So it works out better that she calls in. So that's good.
Yeah.
Nice to remember that we have that flexibility.
Yeah.
So there's an article in Psychology Today that's titled Social Distance versus Social Isolation, Weighing the Pros and Cons. And so in that article, they talked about the pros and cons. And one of the things that they mentioned, it says, what are the actual pros and cons of social isolation? So social distancing is when we separate ourselves from the community, keeping the 6 feet, wearing the mask, those measures to protect ourselves from either exposing someone to or receiving the virus.
Mm-hmm.
So we understand that the role of social distancing, but social isolation has a whole nother purpose. And that's if you've been exposed to it, that would be the purpose of social isolation, which sounds a little different than the original, what you might otherwise think the term would mean. Social isolation meaning just withdrawing from the community. So we're not saying that we're becoming antisocial, we're saying we're protecting people from getting exposed.
Mm-hmm.
If someone is sick and we know that they've been exposed, what is something that you would recommend, or what are some thoughts that you have about how one can social isolate while battling this illness, but then still stay engaged? What are some tips that you would have?
So when I think of the word social, especially in the world of social media, to me, the definition isn't just I'm sitting with you in person and, interacting outside of my home. It still includes, talking on the phone or sharing pictures or texting. So I think, to me, isolation would be not connecting with anyone at all. Whereas we actually do have quite a few methods where you can stay connected with people around you, even though you're in your room at home and can't physically see them. So, whether it's scheduling time with a best friend to be on FaceTime, or, I think we're all showing our humanness a lot lately, whether it's our stories on Instagram or posting videos of what's going on. We're all in this kind of similar boat. And like, we're all at home and just being real with each other, I think we don't need to put up a facade of like, oh, I'm at home and I'm productive and I'm busy and I'm still looking cute all the time. We're like, no, like, let's just talk about what's really happening. So if you're having a bad day, text a friend, hey, today is tough. Let's do something fun over Zoom or on FaceTime. And just being real with each other and having extra grace for each other as well, I think is important.
Grace. We all need a little of that.
Yeah.
So if we're not sick, you're saying that we shouldn't be isolating. And if we are sick, we can isolate physically without socially isolating.
Right.
That's important. Right. That's important.
And
I think habitually
talk on the phone, but I'm pretty sure you could still text a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, if you're really, really ill, it makes sense that you wouldn't be able to. But absolutely, I think it's important that we know the difference and we practice the difference, right? We don't physically engage others while we're sick if we don't want to expose them. However, right, we could still definitely socially engage one another. So social isolation would not be something that we need to practice. It would be physical isolation as opposed to social isolation. Super important to identify and note. I think there's sometimes we have a tendency habitually to get involved in social isolation and physical isolation, and that would be due to illness. And so I wanted to speak for just a moment about that because some folks entered quarantine with already existing symptoms of depression and were already battling anxiety. And this just added or exacerbated, like you said, some of that symptomology. And if your family is a part of the trigger and you're home with your family, if your friends or your roommate is a part of the trigger and you're home with your roommate, that would only make the symptoms increase, not decrease, if they're not getting help. So I think it's important to just caution us to be careful to check on our loved ones, especially the strong-natured ones, the folks who you assume don't need your support. It'd be good to check on them because if they were medicating, self-medicating, or coping, if you will, by being around other people, they don't have that right now. If they were coping by engaging in activities that gave them a thrill or some fun, they don't have a lot of that right now. So it's going to be important that we check on them because we don't want to allow them to isolate because it will add to the depression or the symptoms of depression. And if they're thinking about suicide or having thoughts about suicide, it's super important that we ask the question, are you having thoughts of suicide? Because we need to get them help if they are. And so I just want to encourage us that we be wise. And I love that you shared with us the reminder that we can isolate physically. We don't have to isolate socially. We still need each other. It makes me think about Tom Hanks in this movie where he's on an island by himself. Do you remember that one?
Yes.
Yes. And so in that movie, I recall he really began to take a liking to this basketball, and it became his friend. Or was it the coconut? It became his friend. He names it. He hangs out with it. He takes it everywhere. Human beings need interaction. We just absolutely thrive off of that. And I think this is forcing us to recognize our need for human connection. And I think it also forces us to stop and remember to take care of ourselves. And so in counseling, I think we oftentimes, I know a lot of people use the example of being on the airplane. If you are running out, if the cabin runs out of pressure, and we need to use oxygen, these masks will fall from overhead, place it on yourself before you place it on the person next to you who might need your assistance, because if you don't, then you'll run out of air and won't be able to help take care of them. The same is absolutely true here. Because we are social distancing, we need to put that mask on. So I love that you shared some of the activities that you do to begin to engage. I would say it's probably easier said than done, but we need them. We need those activities. So let's talk for a second about some of those activities. I've seen people playing games on social media. I haven't personally. Have you engaged in any of the online games, the virtual games with family?
I have. So my cousins and I always had like game nights and on the weekends. And so we obviously haven't been able to do that. But there's something going around on Instagram where there's like a filter, the gibberish filter. So you can kind of play that and send each other funny videos when you're playing that game on the filter. Or even board games that you're used to playing in person. Oftentimes you can find an app version or online version, and then add your friends on there if they also have that as well. So you can still kind of be playing with each other and maybe have FaceTime on in the background so you can still like talk to each other and engage, but you're playing the game virtually.
Nice.
So that's kind of a fun way that I found around that.
Well, I'm interested in trying out the bingo. I haven't done it yet, but I am interested in trying out bingo online with family and friends. What about watching a movie? Have you seen people doing that? They've like joined each other to watch a movie?
Yes, I know there's the Netflix Party app that you can add to your internet browser. And then one of you guys opens up Netflix, and then the other one can watch with you, and it's all in sync, which is great. You can also do it on Zoom. So if it's a one-on-one meeting, it can be as long as you want. And then you can just share your screen and have Netflix on there as like a third screen on Zoom. And what else can you do? I guess you could FaceTime, but I don't know. I like the Zoom idea better since it's kind of, you're looking at each other and you're still watching the movie at the same time. I think that's pretty cool.
I think I'm going to try the Netflix one. I like that idea. I might have to try that so we can actually watch a movie together. I have family that we don't see and we laugh over the phone, but it's not quite the same. So that'd be pretty neat. Okay, well, do you have any other comments, any other feedback for family and friends at home right now who might get to view this?
I would say, let's be real with each other. Check in on each other. Be honest about how you're doing that day. Check in with yourself, and be willing to be honest with those around you. When they ask how you're doing, how are you actually doing, right? I think we're all in that space where we want to be hopeful and we want to be happy, but sometimes we have days where we're not feeling so great about that. It's a tough situation, and I think just being there for each other and checking in on each other and scheduling time to have fun is also really, really important.
Super important. Well, thank you, Chanel, and thank you for anyone who views this. We will be doing this every Thursday. This is month of May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month. So we just want to do this as a contribution to the community and to all of our thought partners out there. Great ideas. If you have some, share them. Thanks, Chanel.
All right, bye.
Okay, bye.